Well, hey there everyone, I'm Richard. Welcome to Cowboy Survival. What we're going to do this week is take a look at some of the items I picked up at Hobby Lobby in last week's trip and see how we might actually use them in our kit. Now, if you'll recall, last week we actually went to Hobby Lobby, we went around the store, and we've identified about 20 or more items that you could use from Hobby Lobby in your kit. These are the little things, the odds and ends that make that kit finished out. The threads, the needles, all the little things that you can do, the pieces of leather that if you need for leather making. We looked at a lot of different things, the little tools that you might need for fine work. So what we're going to do, I bought some of those things, and what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at some of those things and how you're actually going to use them in your kit. So let's just go take a look. So what you see laid out before me here is some of the items that we purchased last week when I went to Hobby Lobby. Now, there's a lot of stores that sell a lot of things that aren't labeled as outdoor or survival equipment. However, what we know is that if you have some creativity and you apply some imagination, you can repurpose a lot of the items that you find out there for survival and bushcraft and camping purposes. They become very, very useful to you in doing those little things that you might need to do on a daily basis. We've been to Dollar Tree and see there's a lot of things at Dollar Tree that aren't labeled as outdoor survival items, but are actually very, very useful for that purpose. And so I've got some items here that I thought were really kind of interesting that you could just pick up at Hobby Lobby and would be really, really helpful to you as you're putting together your backpacks, your kits, your day hike bags, whatever. So the first thing I wanted to show you was these little containers here that you get. These are not containers, but what they call bobbins. Now, these are really small little items. You can get them in two different sizes. They have this size and then a larger size, and they're very useful for wrapping things around. So I've got some examples here. I've got some example of some wire here that I have. It's a green wire. It's almost like twist ties, but it comes on a spool, and you can use this to make things with, to tie things together, to fasten things. Really useful, but you can put it in a nice little spool like this. I used one of these. I put a whole bunch of duct tape around this one. So I've got about 6 or 7 feet of duct tape wrapped around this little bobbin here, and I can just slip this in my pocket. I can slip it really easily into any place in my backpack. It's not going to weigh anything. It's not going to take up a lot of space, but it gives me some extra duct tape that I could use if I need to fix a hole in my tent, fix my clothing, maybe, again, put 2 sticks together to maybe make a tripod, all kinds of things. I've got one bobbin here, and I put about 10 feet of 19 or 20 gauge wire around it. And this is really good if you're trying to make snares. You're going to need wire, and so having some wire with you in a very handy way to just put in your pocket, maybe pull it out of a little pouch or whatever, so that you can use on the fly. You find a spot to make a good snare, you can go ahead and make a snare because you got the wire with you and it's not back at camp. Now, speaking of wire, a couple other things you could put on these bobbins. One would be, here's the wire that you can get. So you can buy this wire in different gauges. They have it 19 gauge, 20 gauge, 22 gauge. I know 20 gauge is usually a pretty typical wire that you would use if you're making a small game snare for rabbits or squirrels or something like that. I don't think it's really what you'd want if you're making it for larger game, but for a smaller game, this is a good size wire to have. And they have this here at Hobby Lobby, and I paid like $4 for this whole roll, and it's like, let's see, it's like 33 feet of wire. Like 11 yards of wire. That's a lot of wire. You can make a lot of snares with that. They also have monofilament line, fishing line. So you can take this and wrap this around one of these bobbins. This is a 20-pound test, but they've got 6-pound and 8-pound and 10-pound wire. Now this is just like fishing line. It's monofilament line. It's rated at 20 pounds is what it can handle, so 20-pound test. Now, why would you buy it at Hobby Lobby? Well, it's going to be cheaper. I paid $1.99 for this. And, you know, a lot of times fishing line, depending on where you buy it, it's going to cost a lot more than that. So they've got that there at Hobby Lobby if you just need to pick some up. And, of course, there's thread. If you're going to be having bobbins, you might as well put some thread around one of them. And this is a spool of brown thread that I picked up there at Hobby Lobby. It didn't cost me much. It cost me less than $1. Now, if you're going to have thread, you might also need some wire. or some needles, excuse me. And so I picked up a couple of really good needles. I could use some of the filaments outside, that's inside, some of the line that's inside one of those 7-strand paracords I could put through this. I could put some of my apaca cord through this that's much smaller, some of the wrapping for that. I can put thread through that. I can put line through that. I can use this for a lot of things with these needles. And they have a wide selection of needles there at Hobby Lobby that I would recommend you take a look at, because you just never know what size needle you're going to have. So get some needles, put them in your backpack. You're going to need them to repair tents, to repair tarps, to repair clothing, to repair a whole lot of different things that might need repairing. Now, another thing that you might find there at Hobby Lobby is they have these sort of little button compasses. Now, these are really neat little compasses. Let me take these out of here. You get 3 of them in a package for $3, so like $1 a piece. And as you can see from this compass is very true. I'm sitting here looking at this. It's pointing north for me at the moment. And let's see, is it pointing? It's pointing pretty true. So it's pointing north is like this way. So I know it's this way because I know where I'm sitting. And so it's a nice little compass to have. These are actually designed for paracord bracelets, but at the same time, you can just have them in a pocket. You can have them on a little lanyard. You could put one maybe on the outside of a knife sheath. You can put them in a lot of places. You don't want to put them near metal because that's going to mess up the compass itself. But you can get these little button compasses and put one of these in each one of your little survival kits. Now, another thing that they have there is these little drawstring bags. I really like these. These are kind of neat. They're little canvas-like drawstring bags. You get a package of 3 of them for, let's see, for like $2.50. Now, they're really nice. They're not really huge, but you can put a lot of stuff in them. So, for example, I could take all my little bobbins full of stuff and drop them in there along with my needles and my thread. And now I've got a nice little kit, and I can pull that too. I've got a nice little kit. I could put other kinds of things in here. I could put char cloth in there. I could put tinder in there. I could put just any number of things I could put inside this little bag. Would be really useful for making things or for storing things. All those little odds and ends that are all over the place all the time. You can't seem to find them. You're looking for something that's real small. It's buried down somewhere. Put it in a little drawstring bag like this, and you're not going to have to worry. Now, I wish they had a little bit bigger one, because what I'd like to have one that I could set my camping cup down into. So I'm looking for a little bit bigger bag like this that, maybe about this big by that big, that I could put my cup down into when I am cooking, and then I don't have to worry about when I'm actually hiking, the soot from the cup getting all over everything. When I get home, I clean it with a Brillo pad, but when I'm out on the trail, it's still all sooty on the outside, and I don't want to get that all over everything in my pack. So I'm looking for a little bit bigger drawstring bag, again, that doesn't cost much. It's really inexpensive. Now, the last item I want to show you is one that's really cool. So it's these little bottles that you can get over in the jewelry section. And I chose the pack that has 2 larger bottles and 4 smaller bottles. And what we're going to do with these is we are going to make us a spice kit. So if I take an Altoids tin like this, and I'm going to open this up. There we go. So I can fit, this Altoids tin will fit 1 bottle like this, 1 like this, and I can fit 2 bottles, or actually fit several bottles, this way, okay? And so what I've got now is let's see, I don't think they'll go that way. No, they won't. So I can fit 5 of these little bottles in here. I might be able to fit more than that. Let's see. Nah, not really. They just don't fit real well if I fit more than that in there. See, I don't think I can fit them this way. Yeah, I can. There, I can fit them all in there. So what I can do is I can put 2 big ones, 3, then 4 small ones in here, and I can actually create for myself a nice little spice kit. So let me show you what I mean by that. So just like that, what I've got is I've got some salt, I've got pepper. I can put all kinds of things in these other containers. I could put onion salt. I could put lemon pepper. I could put seasoning salt in one of these that you use to season meat. If you're going to catch squirrels, you're going to rabbits, something like that, you want to season it a little bit just to add a little bit of flavor, make it a little bit easier to digest. So those spices are really going to be nice. I just close this down. I put some duct tape around it to protect it. I might put a little rice in with the salt to help keep it from getting coagulating. If I need anything, I just take out my little jar, open up the top, sprinkle a little bit on whatever I'm cooking. Really, really nice little spice kit to have. Of course, I didn't get the Altoids can at Hobby Lobby, but everything else you see here, I got at Hobby Lobby. Well, that was a lot of fun. Like I said, I went last week. It was snowing out. I had to do something because I was bored to tears. So I went out in the snow, went to Hobby Lobby. We went around the store and found all that stuff. These are the things I brought home. I'm going to be able to really use these to finish out my kit. You know, as I said earlier, repurposing things you find at other stores for the purposes of going out into the woods, for building our backpacks, our day packs, our emergency bags, whatever, is really, really a smart idea. First of all, it's going to cost a lot less than anything that's labeled as outdoor equipment. They're going to bulk the price up on that a lot. So if you can find this stuff at a discount store, it's the same stuff, but it doesn't have that outdoor label on it. You're going to be able to get it for cheaper, and I think you're going to be able to be a lot happier with it. What kind of things have you found that were not labeled as outdoor equipment, but yet you were able to take them and turn it into very useful stuff in your kit? I'd like to hear that in the comments. I'd like to know what kind of things you found and that you're repurposing. In the meantime, I want you to stay strong, stay prepared, and have a blessed day. We'll see you next week right back here on Cowboy Survival.